Hey, welcome to Doc Talk today. We're going to have a great show. We're going to switch gears from cattle to pigs. We got a good friend of ours from the University of Illinois here, Dr. Jim Lowe, and he's a international swine expert and veterinarian. We're going to talk about everything from PED to PRRS to swine flu. Lots of knowledge, lots of topics. Thanks for joining us here today.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Jim Lowe. And Dr. Lowe is an associate professor of clinical medicine at the College of Veterinary Medicine at the University of Illinois. We're tickled to death to get him here on the show. He's a busy man, busy schedule, lots of things going on. And we're going to talk about swine, some of the swine health issues, Dr. Lowe. So we're going to start off with the Seneca Valley.
Let's talk about that, yes.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about what Seneca Valley is and kind of how it's affecting the swine industry.
Thanks, Dan. I'm really happy to be here today. But Seneca Valley virus is a kind of a non-pathogenic virus. It's actually not a big deal for the pigs. They get a little lame. But the big deal is it causes a blister that we can't differentiate from foreign animal diseases like foot and mouth disease. So we've had it in the country now a couple of years. Don't really know where it came from. There were some outbreaks in Brazil over time, and somehow we moved it into the U.S. here. But the big deal with SVV is you'll hear it talked about in the lay press or in the discussion, or maybe that's a nerd conversation. But the big deal with SVV is that every time we see a lesion like that at a packing plant or we see that in a farm, we have to do a full trace back with the USDA. So we've got USDA appearing back, trying to follow up. Is it really FMD or is it just Seneca Valley? So we're sending samples to Ames or out to Plum Island to the National Veterinary Labs to get those tested. So we've gone from about, I think like 20 trace backs a year, or foreign animal disease investigations a year, to like 200 a year now. So it's just gone exponential.
Yeah, it costs money.
Costs money, and everybody's nervous, and we can't move animals, and et cetera. So we think it's shown us 2 or 3 things that are pretty important. One, we've kind of got it eradicated out of farms, but we continue to move animals in the coal channels, so particularly in the coal south side, and those animals are in the chain sometimes 2, 3, 4 days, and so they'll actually get exposed and have lesions from the time they leave the farm until the time they hit the coal plant. And so that's the harvest plant. Yeah, so we've got this dynamic. And
so I didn't see it here, but they got them when they get there.
It's not actually on the farm. They're actually getting infected and having lesions while they're in the marketing channel. So there's the Swine Health Information Center is really leading the charge on that. SHIC is the pork producers funded initiative really to say how do we be prepared for foreign animal disease.
Yep.
And so that's going on. We've actually got a project going on right now, how do we do the trace back, how do we make that improve, how do we improve the information flow. So important disease really because it's testing our limits. I think the other big take home for me was it's really exposed probably our soft underbelly in all of animal ag, that we move a lot of animals a lot of places, and if FMD shows up here, we're going to be in trouble. It's going to be everywhere quickly.
It's amazed me how much we move pigs now. It didn't used to be, it used to be the kind of the farrow to finish operations, and now you'll see even little pigs being moved.
Yeah, so I think there's some estimates, 90% of the pigs don't go to market from the place they were born. So most of the pigs will move those off-site at weaning, and they move to a second site, and then they may move from there to another site to finish. So yeah, it's just like the cattle industry. We move a lot of critters every day, and that really contributes to a lot of disease spread.
Perfect. Folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Dr. Jim Lowe on different things that are going on with the health of our swine herds.
We do business with Blueville because of the quality of their work. It is excellent quality, and because they make a commitment to their customers.
We enjoy the benefits of hiring a good company to help us maintain this home.
We will always do business with Blueville. We have for many, many years, and there's no reason for us to look for any other service.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Jim Lowe. And Dr. Lowe is an associate professor of clinical medicine at the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine. He's an expert in swine and beef and really a systems thinker. And so when we're talking about these different diseases, you know, obviously the one that's been around the longest, at least been around a long time causing problems, is PRRS.
Yeah, and it's, you know, we have a joke like, haven't you fixed that yet? That's like the dinner conversation at Christmas every year. Come on, you worked on that 20 years ago. Haven't you fixed that yet?
It's kind of like BVD in the beef
yeah,
industry.
and it's real similar in a lot of ways to BVD in the cattle industry, right? And so it's, no, we haven't fixed that. We made it a little better, but I'm not sure we've gotten it fixed. So PRRS is just it's porcine reproductive respiratory syndrome, and as it says, it causes two things. One, it causes disease in sows, Dan, as you know, so it can cause abortions, and the big deal there is that it'll pass from the sow to the pig transplacentally, just like BVD.
Yep.
And when it passes there, you can either get abortion because the fetus gets infected, or more importantly, we often get those pigs that are infected at birth. Now, unlike BVD, they're not necessarily PIs, but those pigs that are born infected, they're infected for a really long time, and they are shedders out to the population.
Gotcha.
So the other half of that name is respiratory disease, and so it causes upper respiratory tract infection, again, much like BVD. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think about them when we teach students those in the same bucket, because they both infect the macrophage. They're not really immunosuppressive, but boy, they monkey with that immune system, and we see a lot of secondary disease, particularly on the respiratory side.
So you're going to see the abortions, you're going to see respiratory disease, it's just a lot of immunosuppression do that?
Yeah, just a lot of immunomodulation is the term we use. The immunologists get all worried about suppression. But yeah, we get a modified immune response. We see all these secondary diseases. We see a lot of Pasteurella and just typical bacterial respiratory disease.
What are some things that are people doing now? You know, we've got about a minute till we go to commercial, but what are some things that people are doing to kind of help clean it up?
Yeah, so the big change is that we've had a vaccine for 20 years. The vaccine, much like the BVD vaccine, produces incomplete immunity, but it does produce immunity. And so I think as an industry, we've gotten our head around that mass vaccination of sow herds is important. Stopping this sow to pig transmission is the ticket. And so we've focused on vaccinating pigs so we have less virus, so we don't infect our sow farms. We've focused on really having a strategic approach at the sow farm to say we're going to stop gilt introduction so we don't have transmission. We're going to vaccinate that herd and calm it down, and we're going to try to stabilize these sow farms. So the disease itself is much less impactful than it probably was 10 years ago, but it's certainly not gone.
Perfect. Well, folks, we're going to take a break. Talked about Seneca Valley. We've talked about PRRS. We've got a couple more problems going on. It's great. It's job security for us, right?
That's something, yes, yes.
Anyway, folks, after this break, more with Dr. Jim Lowe.
I'm Rexanne Struve, veterinarian in Western Iowa. I have a veterinary clinic and started doing stem cell therapy on dogs in August of 2014. And after the first 2 dogs, after 3 weeks, I saw such dramatic results. I said, hey, I have arthritis. I have joints, really need this help. Where can I go to get this done? I had stem cell therapy done in November of 2014. on my finger joints, my hip, and the ball of my left foot, all of which I'd had real severe problems with. Saw a pretty dramatic improvement in a short amount of time. I would certainly recommend that somebody don't wait until I'm in the position that I was in with the damage already done to my joints. I encourage veterinarians to use it for their animals, and I encourage anybody who sees this video, if you have need, get in contact with these people, because this is a phenomenal place to have this done.
Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
Healthy cows start with the new Hired Hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new Hired Hand makes healthy cows easy.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson and Dr. Jim Lowe. Dr. Lowe, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine, College of Veterinary Medicine, University of Illinois. Good friend of mine. We do a lot of work together. Very thankful to get him to have a break in his schedule where we could actually sit down. Usually if we're together, we've got a project and our heads down and we're going for it.
We're doing something.
Yep. So today we're talking about swine diseases, and PED is obviously one that's shut down fairs and many different things over the last few years.
Yeah, so PED is porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, and so it's coronavirus like the old TGE. So if you've heard of TGE, this is a cousin to TGE, for lack of a better word. But we introduced that in 2014 into the country, and it came in from China, and that's an interesting story. The USDA believes we moved that in on some tote bags, so the large 1-ton tote bags that had soybean meal in them. So we imported, I think we shipped soybean meal there, we shipped something back on in those same bags, and it got contaminated in the interim. So again, really talking about how vulnerable all of our industries are to these foreign diseases.
Well, I'd even seen a paper where they isolated PED off the carpets going into a Casey's store in Iowa and things like that.
Yeah, so all the coronaviruses are really hardy and cold in the winter, and so when we got it in the country, we got it everywhere, and we got it there fairly quickly. So 15 was a really good year for pig farmers because we think we had about 10% national herd mortality, and it primarily affects baby pigs. So we kill those pigs during the suckling period, and when you got a sow farm infected, you're going to lose about 5 weeks of production.
Wow.
Which sounds bad, but the 6th week's okay. You get back to kind of normal production fairly quickly. So we got good at managing that. I don't know if that's good or not, but we got good at it quick.
Yeah.
There were so many outbreaks, but that really drop off in pigs really said we had huge market price. We had $100 hogs here in late 2015. So if you didn't have them, you certainly got paid pretty well, and so we all recovered a little bit there in 15.
So it's always kind of the next person's day in the barrel.
That's exactly right. Basically, everybody got it. We had to work it through the industry, and we got on. So we think, if you look at the data really out of the reporting system in Minnesota, the number of the number of breaks, the incidence in sow herds is really, really low. It's on a handful a year. We don't see very many outbreaks today. But we know it's still circulating in the finishing population. We did the work early there to demonstrate that trucks that are not infected going to the plant, if they unload about the same time a truck hauling infected pigs unloads, we recontaminate that truck. So we know that those packing plants and those trucks coming out of packing plants continue to kind of circulate virus, and we continue to see breaks in finishing, particularly in the really swine-dense regions. So northwest Iowa, et cetera, there's continued circulation of the virus there, but it happens everywhere. So it's down from where it was at. Economically, boy, you don't find pig vets talking about it today. It's not causing huge impact, but when it gets back in a sow farm, it still kills 5 weeks worth of pigs. And so that's a decision the industry has kind of not gotten its head around. We're going to do elimination yet, but that's something I think long-term we're going to have to talk about of, can we continue to limit that risk, or do we need to do something to change it?
Well, it's just amazing to me how y'all can track down the diseases, control them, much differently than what we do in the beef industry, it seems like.
Well, at least we make a good show of it.
All right, well, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have a wrap-up, and we're going to talk about swine flu with Dr. Jim Lowe.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays, and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This Prevention Works Minute, brought to you by Beringer Ingelheim Vet Medica, Inc.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Thanks for joining me on our Prevention Works Minute. When we start to think about preventing disease, a lot of times we think about the reason why animals get sick, either an overwhelming dose of a pathogen or a suppressed immune system. When we have a suppressed immune system, most of the time that's due to stress. And one of the things that I really focus on with our feedlot crews and stocker crews is low stress cattle handling. I think it's vitally important that cattle are handled and acclimated in a sense that we make sure that we do not increase the level of stress when we're handling. Make sure that they're exposed to you before you ship those animals, making sure that they understand the commands and that they're acclimated, so that when we ship calves to the feedlot, or when we bring calves off the truck at the feedlot, we're practicing good low stress cattle handling. Will increase the immune response because we decrease the amount of stress that we see in those calves. And we all know that prevention works.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply. Did you know long-range planning through the checkoff can help keep your business profitable? To successfully pass on cattle operations from one generation to the next, it's important to promote beef and keep farms and ranches profitable. Your Beef Checkoff helps do that.
I'm Tom Perrier. Our ranch is called Dale Banks Angus. Dale Banks is not a person, but it's a place. This ranch was started by my great-grandfather. He came from northwest England, and his farm there was called Dale Banks, and so he called his ranch here in the Flint Hills Dale Banks. The Beef Checkoff today has fulfilled a lot of needs that our industry had over the years. We were very involved in trying to get the Beef Checkoff passed back in the 70s and early 80s because we saw the need then, and the Beef Checkoff, I think, has fulfilled a lot of those needs.
I think some of the biggest bonuses that we've gotten from the Beef Checkoff in the last 20 years have been twofold, both in the research phase of the industry, one being the Beef Quality Assurance Program that showed us just how much money we could capture by simply doing things like moving the injection sites from the hip and rump of the animal up to the neck. where we had less high-valued cuts. That drove millions of dollars into our industry. The other thing that our beef industry did about 15 years ago was embark on new product development, things like the flat iron steak and things that used to get ground into hamburger and other low-valued cuts today are sold for a premium, and that too, just like the Beef Quality Assurance Program, has driven huge dollars into our industry that we all get to share.
Matt's the primary driver behind the operation right now, and he's the 6th generation, and his children will be the 7th generation.
I hope our kids are better at telling our beef industry's story. I think the last several years the Beef Checkoff has shown us how to do that better. They've given us some tools to do that, so we need to do a better job of telling the wonderful story that we have, and I hope our kids can continue to do that.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help? How can we help?
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook or Twitter.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Jim Lowe, who's an Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine at the University of Illinois. He's known internationally as a swine veterinarian expert, and also is now branching off into some beef cattle operations and doing some beef cattle work and doing an outstanding job. Swine flu scares everybody.
Oh yeah, that's a big nasty word.
It scares, and so what do we know about swine flu? Tell us a little bit about swine flu and what we should be thinking about.
Well, we've, in the scientific guys I head around, we've decided that there's no more swine flu because we can't decide what that is. And so flu is an interesting virus. It's a little RNA virus. It's got 8 parts to it. It's got 8 separate segments. And those 8 segments can interchange. So if I get infected with 2 viruses, they kind of recombine, and we call that recombination. So when we look at the viruses we find in pigs today, they've actually got swine origin parts in them, and they've got human origin parts, and they've got avian origin parts or bird origin parts. And so we think most of the species out there probably have some flu that get infected. We think the reservoir, we know the reservoir is wild birds, particularly waterfowl, so we worry about the flyways. So, I live in Illinois, and the Mississippi flyway comes right over us, and so that's a source of transmission. So the big take home on influenza is it's really a multi-species disease, and that used to not be true. The 1918 pandemic happened that infected some pigs. And we think about the kind of traditional swine flu virus, what I was taught, you and I were both taught when we were in vet school, that's actually lineage back to the 1918 pandemic virus. It went from horses to people and then into pigs, probably into birds in the middle. And so that got stuck into pigs. And that virus really circulated until the late 80s, and we got an H3N2, another kind of virus. It was a human 76 virus that stuck in. And then somewhere along the line, we started to get more mismatch. And now today, there's a tremendous amount of recombination and variableness. So we think about 2009, we had the human pandemic that got called swine flu.
Yep.
Of the 8 parts, the 2 parts on the outside, the H and the N parts, those were swine origin. The stuff on the inside was primarily human origin and bird origin.
Gotcha.
That's why it worked in people. And so that's a really interesting case. It went recombination in pigs went to people, and then at least in the US, it came back into pigs from the humans. And we documented that pretty clearly. So when we think about influenza virus today, we talk about IAV or influenza A virus.
Yep.
Then we'll put a dash after it with an S or an H or an A, signifying, so A being avian, signifying which species we found it in. But that, when we look at the 8 pieces together, boy,
pretty similar.
It's pretty, well, yeah, and we don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot on what you're going to find.
Wow. Well, it's just an amazing system. You have an amazing amount of knowledge about a lot of different diseases that appreciate all you do.
Well, thanks, Dan. Appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Thanks, folks. This is Dr. Jim Lowe. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian, and if you want to know more about what we do here on Doc Talk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Thanks for watching us today. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Jim Lowe, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.